Most people pick wheel strategy stocks completely based on hype. In today's video, I'm going to show you the 5 setups that I'm paying attention to this week. Yo, what is going on, Premium Chasers? I hope you're having a God blessed day. Today, every single person that comments down below is going to get 10 additional setups that I'm pretty much always paying attention to, especially for the wheel strategy, aka the ARC options strategy. So if you want that list, just drop a comment down below. I'll personally respond to you with it. And do me the biggest favor of your Saturday. Hit that like button and that subscribe button. But guys, today we're going to go over the shoulder and talk about the setups that I'm paying attention to, primarily for the ARC options strategy, which is an over-engineered wheel strategy. On our public portfolio, you could see we have 2 positions opened right now. We have our covered call on SoFi, which we'll be talking about just in a moment here. And then we also have the worst options selling trade I've ever done in my entire life, locking up $3,000 for a massive, let me hear it, massive $4.72 of premium. Listen, I'm going to be going crazy. Drinks on me tonight, guys. But in all seriousness, these are 2 positions in the public portfolio. So let's knock out that first one out of the way with SoFi. SoFi, we already know, guys, has been on an absolute tear. Hate to see it, love to see it, but with that said, this is the market, baby, and we have to take the opportunities when they come like this to us. For me, this scares me a little bit. It scares me actually a lot with SoFi. It's already been very hyped up stock, as you probably watch a whole bunch of YouTubers, everybody and their mothers talking about SoFi, and I personally obviously love SoFi, but when it's trading this high above its 2 and 300-day moving average, 200 being 13, 300-day moving average around 11, right? Trading now, listen, when the last time I talked about this last week, guys, you know, I do these premium plays every single Saturday where I talk about the setups I'm paying attention to. I said, dude, this thing's gonna be at 20 before we know it. Now, listen, I'm not no mind reader. I'm not a full-time trader. Assume you're gonna lose money if you listen to me. I'm a dude on the internet. But man, it's crazy. It's crazy how quickly this ran up. I do think we're gonna hit 20 before we see a big pullback. That's just my opinion. But up until then, I'm gonna be doing covered calls on this. On the public portfolio, we obviously have a covered call at 17. We bought 100 shares around at 1609, ran the covered call for 17, which, you know, I think at this point I'm going to see the options, pun intended, of course, what my rolling options are going to be this week. If I'm able to roll that out a little bit higher, my concern is that if we do see a pullback and I'm not able to get out of my shares, some of you will be like, Pete, well, is that a bad thing if you're not able to get out of your covered call shares on SoFi? Yes, because there's one thing that I do differently than probably any single person that you talk to. I am okay selling my shares. I want to sell my shares. I want to treat this like a business and lock in real tangible gains, okay? Even if it's a company that I'm extremely bullish on, like SoFi. So I'm totally cool selling these at 17, but I'm going to see, can I get away with maybe doing the 1750s, maybe even the 18s without pushing this date out too much, all right? So we're going to take a look at that. The CPB has actually not been doing too bad. Obviously, this trade, you guys know, I had a $30 put expiring about a month, but we had a nice little jump up. I pretty much did it right at the money and a fat fingered. If you follow along on the live portfolio, I do videos pretty much every day talking all things selling options, mentioning the public portfolio, but we did have a nice little run up last week on that. So we'll see what actually happens here. I'm probably going to have to hold this bag until August 1st, till my collateral's released. Man, it pains me. Like, again, these are learning lessons that we do when we move over to a new brokerage account, but it's all good. Okay. So next one I'm looking at is SJM. You guys know I talked about this one a decent amount. I love this company. No assignments. However, we did see a big run up. So looking at closing out SJM cash secured put positions, you could see it was playing at this $95 range for, you know, quite a while here. And this was actually brought up in our OSS group. And, you know, it was never really on my radar. And this is why it's so important to be like around other people doing this, in my opinion, because I would have never gotten on my radar. And it's a company that I'm a big believer in. You guys know I love the consumer staples, and it was trading well below its 2 and 300-day moving averages. We're going to see what's going to happen here. This is going to be a fairly big support level. So we're going to see what we're going to do. If we see another pullback, I'm just going to run the play again. Literally, guys, I do the same exact thing every day. Again, I'm not a full-time trader, but when the setups come come to me. I open my cash secured put positions. I, do my limit order to buy to close it around 80 to 90%. And yeah, that's the game, baby. Like literally that's the game for me. It does not take a tremendous amount of my time, but I do like this stock because it also has a decent dividend as well. So even if I have to get my get assigned, I'm running covered calls, I'm collecting dividends. And if I do get assignment, I always want to try to be towards that 200 and 300 day moving averages. As we've seen, this market is just bonkers. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. There's not much opportunity for fantastic companies in great cash secured put territory. That time has gone, right? But there's one thing we do know, right? The fear and greed index, we're in extreme greed, and we know we don't last here. I mean, we can last here pretty long for sure, but this is the time. Look at your cash secured puts that you got out there, close them out, lock in that profit, right? If you have 100 shares of stock, most likely, unless you're in something that you shouldn't have been in the first place, you should be running covered calls right now. This is the time to do covered calls. We're in extreme greed and greed, covered calls. Extreme fear and fear, cash secured puts heavy and really controlling our emotions. There's a couple earnings that I'm going to be paying attention to this week as well. I quickly wanted to mention Delta Airlines. It will be reporting on Thursday the 10th. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out on that. It's one of the other airlines that I enjoy doing the wheel strategy on. So we'll take a look at that. Hopefully there's some movement there. There is always, like I said, opportunity, but right now in the market, we're kind of we're just blowing up across the board. And the only real perfect cash secured put setups, if you want to say perfect, are all going to be kind of not great businesses, in my opinion. Maybe for you they are, but for me and my watch list, my portfolio, you guys know I like to stick to the boring stuff. Dividend kings, dividend aristocrats. I'm collecting dividends, I'm collecting interest, right? That's the kind of stuff that I like to get into, slow and steady, hitting my ROI goal monthly. And look, I'm going to sleep pretty good at night, okay? And then I'm exposed to all this other degeneracy in my buy and hold weeklies in Vanguard, okay? Moving on to the next one, Nike, guys. Holy moly, holding the bag on Nike for a while here. So nice to see it finally blow past its 200 and into its 300-day moving average, where we're going to see that as a key support level around this 76. So we're going to see what happens. But honestly, for me, just covered calls on Nike right now. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, I could see a big pullback here because the RSI is at 76 at this point with Nike. This is going to be. We're going to see what happens. I totally can see this kind of coming back down to reality. And we see this time and time again. When the stock shoots down, 20%, usually over the next, coming weeks, we have a nice, decent recovery, or even in a day, because this market makes absolutely no sense. And a 4% move is literally nothing nowadays, which is just crazy. Okay. So covered calls on Nike. Moving on to the next one. It is Pepsi finally showing some life. Pepsi finally showing some life. Look, guys, how long were we in this 130 range? I've been saying iron condors. If somebody was doing iron condor since the beginning of May on this thing, was absolutely killing it, because this thing has just been going sideways, just absolutely sideways. But we finally touched down around 127 on the bottom Bollinger Band. I was actually hoping to do some cash secured puts on Pepsi at this level, doing the 125s. Never ended up wrapping up that collateral because again, I'm personally expecting a bigger pullback. It might not happen soon, but I'm treading lightly across the board. That's just the kind of person I am. I rather tread lightly, especially with selling options, and let the setups come to me. I'm not chasing, right? I'm not chasing. I'm not FOMOing anymore. I'm not doing any of those things. But I did not wrap up any capital to do cash secured puts on this, which kind of kicking myself about it, because I would have had that 125 cash secured put shot up quite literally a week or so later. Now we're trading at 135. So still decent covered call territory. Why do I say decent covered call territory? Well, for me, I believe Pepsi will be back in that 150 range. I think this is still, honestly, a fantastic setup for cash secured puts, because we are so well below our 200 and 300-day moving averages. And as somebody that has a ton of Pepsi products and a Pepsi believer, right, and Pepsi investor, I believe in their business model. And, it being below the 200 and 300 moving days, even if it's blown past its top Bollinger Band, they're just very tight right now, because it's been obviously a while that it's kind of been going sideways. I still think cash secure put wise, it's still a good setup, because, again, if you believe that it's going to go past its 200 and 300-day moving averages again, then like again, that's, you have to build that for yourself. You have to build that conviction for yourself. But Pepsi for me is a very high conviction stock, and yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not doing covered calls on it, but I'm watching it. If we see another pullback, it's shown some life now, which is good. So we'll see what happens with that. Next one is Arista. You guys already know this is one of my favorite ARK options / wheel strategy stocks. So if you know, I used to work at a high frequency trading company, not as a trader. Trust your boy ain't that smart, but I worked as an IT guy there, and this was a very, very, very widely deployed product. This is the highest and lowest latency products that you can buy on the market. All the stock market basically runs on Arista because they're able to get news faster, they're able to trade faster. There's a whole thing. Go read a book. It's called Flash Boys. You'll absolutely love it. Not really an investing book, but it tells you how high frequency trading companies operate, and if that's something that you like and want to get involved in, it's cool. It's really interesting stuff. And it's also those of you that think you can actually beat the market or be like a day trader, because you can't. You're competing against the algorithms. I digress, right? Top Bollinger Band, you know what time it is. We're doing covered calls on Arista. Decently above 200 and 300 day moving averages as well. Man, this thing gave me the sweats, guys. This thing gave me the sweats with the cash secured puts basically on the way down to 64. I was like, oh, dude, what is going on? This was I just couldn't believe when it dropped down to 64 back in April. I was just, because again, it's one of those high conviction things. And when you start building your watch list based on your stuff, not some dude on YouTube telling you what to invest in, right? You are going to be like, you're just going to have this gut feeling. And I know like indicators and Greeks and your gut, it's all BS. Nobody knows what the market's going to do. But honestly, sometimes it's better to trust your gut than random technical indicators, because technical analysis is BS. Please, for the love of God, do not let anybody tell you otherwise. Nobody knows what the market is going to do, right? But at the end of the day, if you believe in a stock, you truly have a high conviction in the company, like I do with Arista on the way down, you're nervous, right? Especially if it's like a falling knife. But at the same time, you have this conviction. It's just like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Like, I know this is a great company. That's how I am with Arista. Next one is Apple. I'm really watching this closely to see if it's going to go up past its 200-day moving average of 223 this week. I think it will be. I think this thing is going to. We had a long time to build positions in Apple. We really did for the past couple months as it's been trading below the 200 and 300, right? So now it's taking all that back, guys. We all obviously SPY's at all-time highs, market's pretty much at all-time highs, right? And a lot of these companies are going to be following suit that have been getting pretty beat up, right? There's not much opportunity, especially in the Mag 7 with things being below the 200 and 300-day moving averages. So still a good setup to kind of get into it if you really want to for cash secured puts, but it's starting to get really into covered call territory for me. Personally, I'm waiting. I want to really get above that before doing covered calls, even though the premiums are pretty decent on Apple, even at these levels. But it's not a stock that I'm necessarily rushing to get rid of. And then General Mills, I am watching this. We see a little bit of a pullback once we kind of hit this middle Bollinger Band. And this was another stock that's just so below the 200 and 300-day moving averages, has a fantastic dividend, right? That's, again, I keep going back to that because I know the worst case scenario for cash secured puts and covered calls is you get stuck holding a stock. I don't mind holding a stock if I'm able to at least do some sort of covered calls and collect premium, plus at least I'm getting some dividend in there as well. And especially if it's a stock that I believe in long term, I don't mind bag holding it for a little bit of time. But I'm hoping for a little bit of a pullback here back towards this 50 level, and we'll see, maybe get into some cash secured puts. So guys, if you want the full 10 list of my favorite wheel and ARK option strategy stocks, drop a comment down below. I'll make sure to send it over to you. Also, if you're somebody that wants to join an amazing community of option sellers that talk about this day in and day out, Monday through Friday, click the first link in the description of today's video to check out our private invite-only option seller school community. Just 2 rules: don't be a toxic individual and be financially stable, right? Because obviously this is a game, guys. Option selling, it takes money to make money. It does. It really does. This isn't one of those things that you could just start with like $1,000. I mean, you could, but you're not. And I believe you could, but option seller school most likely wouldn't be for you. But if you want to learn more about that, click the first link in the description of today's video, guys. Remember, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.